The cold was biting, even for a world used to winter storms. Snow drifted across the plains of Orvella, 7. A lonely frontier planet at the edge of human colonization. The settlements here were small, scattered, and stubbornly clinging to life against a sky that never seemed to stop its gray, icy winds. Among the few who still called this planet home was Jed Hart, a cowboy in every sense of the word, grizzled, resourceful, and stubborn. Jed had been alone for most of the year. The other settlers were either out on long-range supply runs or huddled in their distant colonies. But this Christmas Eve, he wasn't quite alone. His bride, Lyra, walked quietly behind him, in the small cabin he called home. She was unlike anyone he had ever met. Lyra was a human hybrid, towering and strong, with gentle eyes that revealed more kindness than the roughest human soul. Yet she was painfully shy, speaking only when she needed to, and keeping her gaze down when strangers or even Jed looked her way. The cabin smelled of pine and metal polish. Jed had managed to scrounge together a small, artificial tree from old supplies and decorated it with lights that blinked erratically. He chuckled at the uneven pattern. "Well," he said, "it ain't much, but it's something." Lyra smiled faintly, her tall frame leaning against the wall. She had tried to help, stringing the lights with careful precision, but her large hands often made the ornaments sway dangerously. Yet even as she struggled, her small smile warmed Jed more than any fire could. The two had settled into a quiet rhythm in the outpost. Jed spent his days checking supply drones and repairing old equipment. Lyra, with her incredible strength, often helped him lift heavy machinery or clear snowdrifts too thick for him to manage alone. Despite the harsh world outside, they had carved out a small island of comfort inside the cabin. Jed stirred the pot of reconstituted stew on the stove. It wasn't much, but the aroma was enough to make the frigid air feel less harsh. "Nothing like a warm meal to remind you that you're still alive," he muttered to himself. Lyra hovered near the window, watching the swirling snow outside. She had grown up knowing fear. Her people, genetically enhanced humans, were rare, and many feared them. Her size and strength often drew stares, whispers, and even avoidance. But here, with Jed, she felt safe. With him, she could simply exist without explanation. Just as Jed ladled stew into bowls, a sudden flash of light erupted from the horizon. The cabin shook slightly, and the soft hum of the heater sputtered. Jed's brow furrowed. He stepped outside, snow crunching under his boots. Lyra followed, silent as ever, her towering figure almost blending into the white storm. The sky to the east shimmered unnaturally, a pulsating beacon of blue and white light. Jed squinted, his instincts sharpening. "That's not normal," he muttered. Even in a world where storms were constant and odd, this was different. The light wasn't random, it pulsed with a rhythm, almost like a signal. Lyra's eyes widened slightly. She tilted her head, studying the glow. Despite her usual shyness, she spoke quietly, almost to herself. "It's calling. Someone, or something, wants to be found." Jed's hand instinctively went to the sidearm at his belt. Not that it would do much against aliens, if that was what this was. "Let's check it out," he said. His voice carried a mixture of curiosity and caution. The two climbed into Jed's hover rig, a patched-up vehicle that had seen better days. Its engines whined as it lifted off the snowy ground, leaving trails of disturbed powder behind. Jed gripped the controls with steady hands, while Lyra leaned forward, peering into the swirling lights. The closer they got, the more the light seemed to take shape. It was not a star or a natural phenomenon. It was artificial engineered. A station, partially buried under layers of snow and ice, rose from the ground like a ghost. Its metal surfaces shimmered with the pulsing energy, and strange symbols glowed faintly across its hull. Jed's jaw tightened. "Well, I'll be. Never thought I'd see something like this out here." Lyra's voice was barely a whisper. "It's ancient." Older than anything humans have built, they landed a short distance from the station. Jed was careful, testing the ground for hidden ice patches, while Lyra's massive frame allowed her to stabilize the rig when it skidded slightly. Together, they approached the entrance, a massive door that seemed to hum in response to their presence. Jed pressed a hand to the panel. The symbols shifted under his touch, almost as if the station was alive. "I guess it likes us," he joked nervously. Though his eyes betrayed his awe, Lyra stepped forward, touching the door with her large, gentle hands. The metal rippled and parted slowly, revealing a dimly lit corridor inside. The smell of ozone and ancient machinery filled the air. The station had been abandoned or dormant for centuries, yet it was still functioning in ways they could not comprehend. Inside, Jed moved cautiously. The walls were lined with panels, some flickering, some completely dark. Lyra's eyes scanned the architecture, noting the sheer scale of the structure. This could change everything," she whispered. Jed nodded. "Yeah, but we need to be careful. Could be traps. Could be anything." As they ventured deeper, the station seemed to respond to their presence. Holographic screens flickered to life, displaying images of strange planets, unknown stars, and alien ships gliding silently through space. Jed stared, amazed. "Looks like someone's been keeping track of the galaxy," he muttered. Lyra's fingers brushed over one of the panels, and the station's AI, if that's what it was, activated fully. A holographic figure appeared, shimmering with soft blue light. "Humans detected. Your arrival was predicted," it said in a calm, melodic voice. "Time is limited. The storm approaches." Jed glanced at Lyra, then back at the AI. "Storm? What storm?" The hologram projected a three-dimensional map of the nearby sector. Swirling clouds of energy were moving toward their settlement. "An artificial storm," the AI explained, "generated by a fleet testing advanced weaponry. Your colony will be destroyed if you do not act." Lyra's eyes widened. "We have to warn them. But how?" Jed's mind raced. He knew the hover rigs and supply drones wouldn't survive in the storm. But this station, this ancient, alien technology, could hold the key. "Looks like we've got work to do," he said, gripping Lyra's hand lightly. "And we're running out of time." She nodded, a rare spark of determination in her eyes. Despite her shyness, her confidence grew as she realized the magnitude of their task. Together, they turned toward the inner chamber of the station, ready to unlock secrets that could save their people and maybe humanity itself. Outside, the snow continued to fall, masking the lights of the distant colonies. Inside, a cowboy and his shy giant bride prepared to face a challenge unlike anything they had ever known. And as the pulses of the alien beacon continued to beat in the distance, neither could have guessed how much their lives and the fate of their colony would change in the hours to come. The storm was coming, and humanity's last hope on Orvella 7 rested in the hands of two unlikely heroes. The wind howled outside the alien station like a living thing, bending snow in sharp, slicing arcs across the frozen plains of Orvella 7. Inside, Jed Hart and Lyra moved carefully, their boots clanging softly against the metallic floors. The alien station's corridors were wide enough for Lyra's tall frame, but still alien in every sense. Walls glimmered with strange lights, and the hum of unseen machinery resonated beneath their feet. Jed adjusted his jacket and squinted at the glowing holograms that hovered along the walls. "All right," he said, his voice low but steady. "We've got maybe a couple of hours at best. That storm, it's not going to wait for us to figure things out." Lyra's large hands rested lightly on a nearby panel. She was studying it, her eyes tracing alien symbols that flickered in patterns, almost like a language she could feel rather than read. "It's complex," she admitted softly, "but I think I can handle it if you guide me." Jed gave her a quick, reassuring nod. "We'll figure it out together." Just like always. The station hummed, almost as if acknowledging her words. The AI's voice echoed down the corridor. Human operators detected. Immediate coordination required. Time is limited. Storm approaches. Jed moved to the nearest console, scanning the information displayed. The storm was unlike anything they had seen. It wasn't a normal weather phenomenon. Massive energy currents, generated by unknown alien technology, were spreading across the colony's region. If it reached the settlements, every building, every life support system, and every vehicle would be destroyed. Jed clenched his jaw. We need to shut it down, or at least divert it. Lyra's eyes flicked to him. How do we do that? Jed glanced around the station, noticing multiple energy conduits running along the walls. I think we can manipulate the flow, he said slowly. It's like redirecting water, only this is energy. And if we mess it up, we'll make things worse. Lyra stepped closer, her height nearly brushing the ceiling. Then we do it right, together. Jed smiled faintly, though his mind raced. Exactly. But we gotta move fast. Strap yourself in. They reached the main chamber of the station, a vast open area with panels, levers, and alien devices scattered throughout. The ceiling arched high above them, lined with energy conduits that pulsed in rhythm with the storm outside. Holographic maps of Orvella 7 and nearby colonies floated in midair, showing the approaching threat in real time. Jed grabbed one of the control levers, pulling it carefully. The station responded instantly, and a holographic energy flow appeared, branching toward the colony. See that? He said. We can redirect it. But we need to split the workload. You take the conduits on the left. I'll handle the ones on the right. Lyra nodded, her usual shyness fading under the weight of necessity. She stepped to the side, her large hands resting on a panel that felt surprisingly warm to the touch. The conduits responded to her strength, adjusting energy flows with precision. Jed couldn't have managed alone. As they worked, the storm outside intensified. The snow rattled against the station walls, and distant flashes of light marked the alien fleet responsible for the artificially generated chaos. Jed wiped sweat from his brow despite the cold. They're testing something. Big. But we're faster. We're human. Lyra glanced at him, her eyes reflecting a mixture of fear and determination. Human? She asked softly. Jed gave a small grin. Yeah. We improvise. We adapt. That's what makes us different from them. The AI's voice cut through the chamber. Energy flow unstable. Intervention required now. Human cooperation optimal. Jed and Lyra worked in sync, following the station's guidance while relying on their own instincts. Lyra's strength allowed her to manipulate massive conduits that Jed could barely move, while Jed's quick thinking redirected flows when unexpected surges threatened to overwhelm the system. They had no time to rest, no time to second-guess themselves. Every second counted. As they worked, Lyra began to relax into her role. Her usual hesitance disappeared, replaced by the confidence of someone who could make a real difference. Jed noticed the change and felt a swell of pride. See? You're incredible, he said quietly, though he didn't take his eyes off the flowing energy patterns. Lyra smiled faintly, a blush rising across her cheeks. I'm just following your lead, she admitted. Jed shook his head. No, you're not just following. You're making it happen. The storm outside grew more violent, the ground shaking beneath the station. Energy pulses rattled the walls, sending sparks flying. Jed's grip on the console tightened. Hold steady, Lyra. Almost there. A sudden surge of energy exploded through the conduits. Lights flickered, and a warning alarm blared. Jed cursed under his breath, diving toward a secondary panel to stabilize the flow. Lyra braced herself, her large frame absorbing the shock as she manually adjusted a conduit that threatened to overload. For a moment, they froze, the storm howling louder than ever. But slowly, the energy began to stabilize. The conduits glowed steadily, and the holographic map showed the storm's path shifting away from the colony. Jed let out a low whistle. We're doing it. Lyra's smile grew, her usual shyness replaced by a spark of excitement. We're Saving them, she said softly. Jed nodded, a small grin breaking across his face. That's right. And it's just the two of us. The AI's voice sounded again, calmer now. Human adaptability confirmed, intervention successful, colony safety improved. Time remaining, limited. Jed looked at Lyra. Limited? We still have more work to do? Lyra's eyes scanned the chamber, noting a series of secondary energy nodes branching toward the fleet, generating the storm. I think, if we can disrupt their control nodes, we can stop the storm completely. Jed frowned. You mean we take it to them? Out in the field? Lyra nodded. Yes. But we can do it. Together. Jed's jaw tightened. All right then. Saddle up, giant lady. Looks like we've got a ride. They returned to the hover rig, loading supplies quickly. Lyra's immense strength allowed her to lift heavy energy modulators into the cargo hold, while Jed prepped the controls. The engines whined and roared as the vehicle lifted off, snow and wind battering them as they raced toward the nearest control node of the alien fleet. The landscape blurred in white and blue streaks as they sped across frozen plains and jagged ice canyons. Jed maneuvered expertly, dodging chunks of ice and alien drones sent to slow them down. Lyra kept a steadying hand on the rig, her massive frame absorbing shocks that would have thrown any normal pilot off balance. Hold on, Jed shouted over the wind. This next jump's gonna be rough. Lyra's voice was calm, almost steady. I trust you. Jed's heart skipped a beat. He wasn't used to hearing her speak so openly, but the words gave him strength. They flew faster, weaving between obstacles, racing against the artificial storm that still churned behind them. Finally, they reached the control node, a massive tower-like structure pulsing with energy. Jed parked the hover rig at a safe distance, and they jumped down to the platform. Lyra's large hands grasped the machinery easily, opening panels and rerouting energy flows, while Jed handled the smaller, more precise calibrations. The storm's pulses weakened gradually as they worked. The fleet's drones swarmed, trying to protect their node, but Jed's quick reflexes and Lyra's raw power kept them at bay. Together, they were unstoppable, a perfect balance of ingenuity and strength, intelligence and courage. As the node's energy finally went offline, the storm collapsed. The skies over Orvella 7 began to clear, revealing a pale blue sun breaking through the gray clouds. The colonies below were safe for now. Jed and Lyra looked at each other, breathing heavily, faces streaked with snow and sweat. Jed chuckled softly. Well, looks like humans really can improvise, huh? Lyra smiled, finally relaxing into her usual shy demeanor, though there was a spark of pride in her eyes. Yes, humans can. The AI spoke one last time before going silent. Human intervention exceeded expectations. Colony safety confirmed. Your cooperation has been remarkable. Jed gave Lyra a look. You hear that? They think we're remarkable. Lyra laughed softly, the sound echoing through the clearing sky. Maybe we are. And as the wind calmed and snow drifted gently across the plains, Jed and Lyra stood together, knowing that despite the harsh universe around them, humanity's courage, ingenuity, and cooperation had won the day. The snow outside Orvella 7's plains had begun to settle, leaving a fragile, sparkling layer across the frozen landscape. The storm that had threatened the colonies now shrank in intensity, and the skies cleared just enough to reveal the pale glow of the distant sun. But Jed Hart and Lyra knew their work was far from over. The control node they had shut down was only a part of the mystery. The alien station still pulsed with energy, and its AI, or whatever it truly was, had more to reveal. Jed tightened his jacket, glancing at the massive station that now seemed less threatening and more like a puzzle waiting to be solved. We did good, he said, speaking more to himself than to Lyra. But there's more going on here. I can feel it. Lyra nodded silently, her large frame casting a long shadow against the metallic walls. She had grown into her confidence after the race against the storm, but the unknown of the station still made her uneasy. wants us to see something," she said quietly, her voice carrying a weight that made Jed pay attention. Together, they re-entered the station, its doors sliding open smoothly as if welcoming them back. The hum of alien machinery filled the corridors, and strange symbols flickered along the walls. Jed felt a shiver of anticipation. This was more than survival now, this was discovery. The AI's holographic voice echoed softly. Human presence confirmed. Primary objectives revealed. Proceed to Central Chamber. Jed exchanged a glance with Lyra. Central Chamber, he repeated. Sounds like where the answers are hiding. Ready. Lyra's gentle nod was all the confirmation he needed. Together, they walked down corridors lined with pulsating energy conduits. The air was warm compared to the harsh cold outside, and the alien metal felt alive under their hands. Each step seemed to echo, though there was no one else around. Finally, they reached a massive chamber that opened like a cathedral of technology. Holographic stars spun slowly in midair, and massive panels projected images of unknown galaxies, planets, and alien civilizations. At the center of it all hovered a glowing orb, its surface shifting like liquid light. Jed stepped closer, awestruck. "I've seen a lot in my life," he muttered. "But nothing like this." The orb pulsed, and the AI spoke again, its voice calm and melodic. This station was built by a civilization that no longer exists. Its purpose: to monitor, protect, and, if necessary, guide emerging species. You, humans, have been detected and evaluated. Lyra's eyes widened. Evaluated? By who? The creators are gone, the AI explained. Their civilization was lost to a cosmic catastrophe. The station remains as their legacy. Your actions have been observed. Your response to the storm was efficient, cooperative, and adaptive. Qualities expected of a species capable of interstellar stewardship. Jed swallowed. So, you're saying we passed some kind of test? In a sense, the AI replied. Tests were not intentionally set for you. Your cooperation with the environment, your improvisation under pressure, and your resilience were recorded. The results exceed expectations. Lyra's large hands hovered over a control panel, her fingers brushing the holographic symbols. So, we can learn from it? From them? The AI's orb shifted, projecting star maps and data streams across the chamber. Knowledge preserved. Techniques, navigation routes, energy manipulation, and guidance systems access granted incrementally. However, full integration requires demonstration of further adaptability. Jed frowned. You mean more challenges? Lyra's voice was calm now, stronger than before. I think, if we can complete them, it will help humanity. Not just the colony, but all humans. Jed looked at her, impressed. Her shyness was almost gone, replaced by the quiet determination that had carried them through the storm. All right then, he said. Let's see what this old station wants from us next. The AI's orb pulsed and projected a series of holographic obstacles. Some were mechanical puzzles, others sequences of energy manipulation, and a few appeared as simulations of real-life hazards, like collapsing structures or sudden energy surges. Completion of these challenges will grant full access to preserved knowledge and systems, the AI explained. Lyra stepped forward, examining the first puzzle, a massive, rotating panel with energy conduits branching in complex patterns. We need to connect these flows correctly, she said. It's like the storm, but more precise. Jed studied the holographic layout. All right. You take the top half, I'll take the bottom. We communicate and adjust in real time. For hours, they worked together. Lyra's strength allowed her to move massive panels into place with ease, while Jed recalibrated the energy nodes that controlled the flows. Sparks flew, and the room vibrated as conduits pulsed under their control. Each successful adjustment caused the holographic display to shimmer and confirm their progress. During a brief pause, Lyra leaned against one of the conduits, breathing heavily but smiling faintly. I never thought I could do this," she admitted. Jed looked at her with a small grin. "I never doubted it for a second. You're incredible," she blushed faintly. "We make a good team," Jed chuckled softly. "The best team." They moved to the second challenge, a simulation of a collapsing alien habitat. Holographic walls shifted, energy beams threatened to cut through the floor, and gravity fluctuated in small pockets. Jed ran and jumped, adjusting panels and levers with quick reflexes, while Lyra's strength allowed her to hold massive weights and stabilize shifting machinery. The simulation tested more than their skill, it tested their coordination. Each mistake could mean failure. Each success built confidence. With every problem solved, they unlocked more of the station's knowledge, revealing maps, navigation routes, and energy manipulation techniques far beyond human technology. As they approached the final challenge, the AI spoke again. Final evaluation. Human adaptability, cooperation, and ingenuity. Completion of this task will grant full access to station archives and allow continued guidance of emerging species. The last challenge was the most complex. An energy labyrinth spanning the chamber, pulsing in unpredictable patterns. Panels shifted without warning, and conduits required simultaneous manipulation. One wrong move could destabilize the entire system. Jed and Lyra exchanged a glance. "Ready?" Jed asked. Lyra nodded. "We've come this far. Let's finish it." For nearly an hour, they moved in perfect synchronization. Jed's quick thinking adjusted shifting panels, while Lyra's immense strength allowed her to manage the heavy conduits and stabilize the energy flows. They communicated with small words, gestures, and the rhythm of their work, forming a partnership that surpassed anything the AI had observed. Finally, with a synchronized pull of levers and a precise connection of conduits, the labyrinth stabilized. The AI's orb glowed brighter than ever. Evaluation complete. Human cooperation confirmed. Access granted. Holographic screens filled the chamber, displaying knowledge that had been preserved for centuries. Energy manipulation techniques, advanced navigation systems, and methods to protect colonies from cosmic hazards appeared before them. Jed and Lyra gazed at the display in awe, understanding that humanity now had a chance to rise beyond its isolated colonies and take its place among the stars. Lyra turned to Jed, her eyes reflecting both exhaustion and wonder. We did it," she whispered. Jed smiled, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. "Yeah, we did it together." The AI's voice softened. "Humanity has demonstrated qualities expected of species capable of interstellar stewardship. Your actions ensure survival and growth not only for your colony but potentially for many others. Proceed with care, and you will shape the future." Lyra's gaze lingered on the holographic star maps. "The universe is so much bigger than we imagined," Jed nodded. "And we've just taken the first step. For the first time since arriving on Orvella 7, the two of them felt a sense of purpose that went beyond survival. They had faced danger, adapted, and succeeded. The station had chosen to share its knowledge because humanity, despite being small and young compared to the cosmos, had proven itself capable, resilient, and worthy. As the snow fell gently outside and the sun rose over the horizon, Jed and Lyra knew that the universe had changed for them. They were no longer just settlers struggling to survive. They were the first of a species ready to explore, adapt, and thrive among the stars. And somewhere deep in the heart of the alien station, the AI recorded their achievement, storing it as part of a legacy that would outlast them both. For Jed and Lyra, the journey was far from over. The challenges ahead would be greater, the universe larger, and the responsibilities heavier. But for now, they had proven themselves, and in doing so, humanity had earned its place in a cosmos full of possibilities. Together, they turned back toward the corridors of the station, ready for the next step in a journey that would take them far beyond Orvella 7. The sun hung low over the icy plains of Orvella 7, casting long shadows that stretched across the frozen ground. The alien station loomed behind Jed, Hart, and Lyra, its walls still glowing faintly with the knowledge they had unlocked. But the station had made one thing clear. Survival and understanding of the universe required more than cleverness inside a safe room. Humanity needed adaptability, creativity, and courage in the face of the unknown. Jed tightened his jacket, scanning the horizon. Looks like our next lesson isn't coming to us, we have to go out and find it. Lyra, towering and calm, adjusted the equipment harnessed across her broad shoulders. I'm ready, she said. Her voice was steady. The shyness that once held her back, gone. Whatever it is, we can handle it. The AI's orb had projected a new path beyond the station, an alien landscape dotted with massive obelisks, glowing energy fields, and jagged terrain. It seemed almost like a puzzle scattered across the planet. These trials, the AI had said, are designed to test the adaptability of emerging species. Only by completing them can full access to the station's archives be achieved. Jed let out a low whistle. Looks like the universe wants to see how humans think outside the box. They boarded their hover rig, Lyra steadying the heavy load of supplies and equipment while Jed navigated the frozen canyons. The first obstacle appeared sooner than expected. A canyon carved deep into the ice, with walls too steep for ordinary machinery, and a river of glowing, unstable energy running along the floor. Jed paused. That's not normal. No way our hover rig can handle that without some extra help. Lyra stepped out, her massive frame casting a shadow over the glowing energy. Then we find another way, she said simply. Using her strength, she anchored cables and stabilized a makeshift bridge of alien metal panels they had salvaged from the station. Jed followed, carefully guiding the hover rig across. Each movement required coordination and ingenuity, as the glowing energy below pulsed unpredictably. Halfway across, the panels trembled under the rig's weight. Jed gritted his teeth, using the hover rig's stabilizers to compensate, while Lyra held the panels in place with her bare hands. Sparks flew, and the energy beneath hissed. But together, they reached the other side safely. Jed exhaled, a grin spreading across his face. See? Nothing a little human creativity and giant strength can't handle. Lyra smiled faintly. We make a good team. The next trial was more complex. Massive alien obelisks jutted from the ground, connected by flowing energy fields that shifted constantly. The AI's holograms indicated that to pass, they had to manipulate the fields into specific patterns, something no ordinary human could do. Jed and Lyra stepped forward, scanning the fields and devising a plan. Jed pointed. We'll need to redirect the flows. Lyra, you handle the heavy conduits. I'll recalibrate the smaller channels. Lyra nodded. Her hands glowed slightly as she interfaced with the alien energy, adjusting massive conduits with precision. Jed worked on the smaller adjustments, fine-tuning energy flows while dodging sudden pulses of power. The obelisks shifted subtly as they worked, reacting to the changes, forcing them to improvise constantly. Minutes passed like hours. Sparks flew, and energy arcs crackled in the air. Jed called out directions while Lyra shifted panels and conduits with almost superhuman precision. Careful, left node is unstable, Jed shouted. Lyra adjusted, her hands steady despite the danger. Got it. Keep yours balanced. Finally, the obelisk's energy stabilized, forming a coherent lattice that pulsed gently with light. A low hum resonated through the plains. The AI's voice echoed. Trial complete. Human adaptability confirmed. Jed wiped sweat from his brow, turning to Lyra. You're incredible. Seriously. Couldn't have done this without you. Lyra's faint blush warmed her expression. And I couldn't have done it without you. They pressed forward, the terrain growing wilder with each step. Alien rock formations jutted at odd angles, glowing fissures split the ground, and strange plants, luminous and unnervingly alive, shifted as they approached. The next challenge was clear. A puzzle that tested not just strength, but intuition and logic. A massive wall of alien machinery blocked their path. Panels shifted and rotated unpredictably, and the AI's holograms indicated that only a sequence of precise adjustments could open the passage. Jed crouched, examining the levers and conduits. "This one's tricky," he muttered. "We need to think like them, not like us." Lyra leaned over a panel, her fingers brushing alien symbols. "Patterns. There's a rhythm. Watch the energy pulses. They tell us what to do." Jed nodded, following her lead. They worked together in silence, listening to the hum, following the pulses, and moving the machinery in precise increments. Sparks flew. Panels shifted, and the air crackled with energy. But slowly, the wall began to respond. "Almost. Got it," Jed muttered, sweat dripping from his brow. Lyra's hands moved in sync with his, adjusting the final conduits. With a low hum, the wall retracted, opening a pathway forward. Jed leaned back, laughing softly. "We did it. Human brainpower and giant hands." Lyra smiled, her shyness fading further. "We make a good team." The universe didn't expect humans to work like this. As they moved deeper into the alien landscape, the trials grew more dangerous. Floating platforms of alien metal required precise timing to cross. Energy currents shifted unpredictably, threatening to sweep them away. Alien drones, remnants of the station's creators' defense systems, tested their reflexes. Each challenge pushed them harder, forcing them to improvise, adapt, and rely on each other completely. Jed dodged a crackling energy beam while adjusting a panel with one hand. "Lyra! Now!" Lyra lifted a massive platform, swinging it into place to block the beam. Jed jumped across the gap and landed safely on the other side. They shared a breathless laugh. "I swear," Jed said, "no one ever taught humans to do this stuff." Lyra's eyes glimmered. "We don't need teaching. We adapt." Hours passed, and the sun dipped lower, painting the icy plains with shades of orange and purple. Finally, they reached the last trial, a massive energy gate pulsing with light. The AI's voice spoke clearly. "Final trial. Demonstrate ingenuity, cooperation, and courage. Success will grant full access to the station's archives and guidance systems." Jed and Lyra studied the gate. It was enormous, its surface shifting, humming with alien energy. The previous trials had prepared them, but this one required everything they had learned: strength, logic, adaptability, and trust in each other. Lyra stepped forward, placing her hands on the energy conduits. "We need to work together," she said. "Exactly as we have before, every move counts." Jed nodded. "Right. Let's finish this." For nearly an hour, they worked in perfect harmony. Jed's quick thinking adjusted the small, intricate channels, while Lyra's strength stabilized massive conduits and controlled the energy flows. Sparks flew, and the gate hummed, responding to their synchronized efforts. Finally, with a final adjustment and a precise sequence of movements, the energy gate pulsed once, then stabilized. A brilliant light filled the sky, and the AI's voice echoed, calm and approving. "Trial complete. Human cooperation and ingenuity confirmed. Full access granted." The energy gate retracted, revealing a hidden chamber filled with holographic star maps, alien technology schematics, and knowledge accumulated over millennia. Jed and Lyra stared in awe. Humanity now had access to secrets that could change their colonies and perhaps the entire species. Lyra turned to Jed, exhausted but smiling. We did it. Together." Jed placed a hand on her shoulder. "We did. And humanity, we're ready for what comes next." As the alien station's chambers hummed with energy and knowledge, Jed and Lyra realized the full weight of what they had accomplished. Not just for themselves, not just for Orvella 7, but for humanity. They had proven their adaptability, courage, and creativity. They had shown that humans could rise to challenges no one expected them to handle. Outside, the icy plains stretched endlessly, but the future no longer seemed impossible. With their combined skills, human ingenuity, and unyielding courage, Jed and Lyra were ready to face whatever the universe had in store. Together, they stepped forward into the light of the chamber, prepared to claim humanity's place among the stars. The alien station hummed with a calm, steady energy as Jed Hart and Lyra walked through the vast chambers. The trials were complete, and humanity had proven itself capable in the eyes of the ancient AI. Yet even with the knowledge unlocked, the universe outside seemed both vast and daunting. Jed ran a hand over the holographic star maps floating in midair. Systems and star routes, planets rich with resources, and networks of ancient star forges filled the displays. "Lyra," he said softly, "look at all this. We're standing in the middle of a map to the galaxy." Lyra, her height dwarfing the consoles around her, gazed at the projections. Her usual shyness was gone, replaced by a confident curiosity. "It's more than we imagined. We could help so many colonies, so many humans." The AI's orb pulsed gently. "Humanity has demonstrated qualities expected of a species capable of stewardship. Knowledge and technology have been granted for the guidance and protection of emerging civilizations. The choice to proceed lies with you." "And then you see," Jed swallowed, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing down on his shoulders. "So, this isn't just for Orvella 7. This is for all of us." Lyra nodded. "We can't keep it here. We need to take it home, share it carefully, and prepare humanity for what's out there." The station's doors opened to a landing platform, revealing a fleet of dormant starships waiting silently. Their sleek designs were unlike anything humans had built for speed, endurance, and adaptability. The AI explained that these ships were part of a network created to explore the galaxy and safeguard civilizations in need. Jed ran his hand along the hull of one ship. "Looks like we've been chosen to carry it forward." Lyra stepped closer, her hand brushing the hull. "Chosen, not just because of strength or skill, but because we work together. Humanity's teamwork matters." Jed smiled faintly, a warmth in his chest. "Yeah, it does." They boarded one of the ships, feeling a thrill they had never experienced before. Lyra's massive hands adapted easily to the controls, and Jed guided the navigation systems using a combination of alien technology and human intuition. The ship lifted smoothly, leaving the station behind, and their view of Orvella 7 grew smaller as the planet receded into the distance. The AI's voice resonated clearly inside the cabin. "You have the capability to expand human reach. Training and exploration must proceed carefully. The galaxy holds both opportunity and danger. Collaboration, ingenuity, and courage will determine success." Jed glanced at Lyra. "Sounds familiar, huh? That's basically what we've been doing this whole time." Lyra smiled. "We learned fast. Faster than even the AI expected." Their first course of action was to visit nearby colonies. As they approached Orvella 7's settlements, they saw the destruction that could have occurred if the storm had reached them. The colony's citizens were still alive, unaware of how close they had come to disaster. Jed's heart ached briefly at the thought, but pride replaced fear as he saw their future now secure. Lyra's eyes scanned the colonies. "We can help them rebuild. And not just rebuild, we can improve their lives. Technology, energy, everything we've learned," Jed nodded. "And we'll do it carefully. No rushing, no mistakes. Humans have to learn to use this properly, or it won't matter." The AI offered guidance, projecting repair protocols, energy stabilization methods, and resource management systems. Jed and Lyra moved from colony to colony, teaching, demonstrating, and helping implement the alien technology. It was slow work, but progress was visible. Communities thrived as the frost of Orvella 7 seemed less harsh, now warmed by the ingenuity and cooperation of humans empowered by alien knowledge. After weeks of work, Jed and Lyra stood atop a hill overlooking the largest colony. Lights flickered across buildings, newly repaired and upgraded. Children played safely under the glow of energy shields, and settlers moved efficiently through the streets using technology that was once beyond imagination. Jed turned to Lyra. We actually did it. Look at them. They're alive. And thriving. Lyra's eyes shone. We didn't just survive, Jed. We helped them grow. Humanity can really reach for the stars now. The AI's voice spoke again. Humanity has proven capable of guidance, protection, and adaptation. You have been granted access to the full network of star forges. With this, humans may expand across the galaxy, explore, and learn. Responsibility rests with your species. Jed clenched his fist in determination. We'll be ready. Humans won't waste this. We'll do it right. Lyra's hand rested gently on his arm. Together, they spent months preparing. The alien station provided blueprints, navigation routes, and advanced propulsion systems. Jed and Lyra trained new teams, carefully selecting humans capable of leadership, creativity, and courage. The first generation of explorers was ready, equipped not only with technology, but with the lessons Jed and Lyra had learned: adaptability, teamwork, and the unyielding spirit that made humanity unique. Finally, the day came to launch humanity's first expedition beyond Orvella 7. The fleet of starships, gleaming under the sun, stood ready. Jed and Lyra stood aboard the flagship, looking out at the other vessels. They had grown from settlers in a frozen world to leaders of a new era for humanity. Jed smiled, a mixture of pride and anticipation in his eyes. This is it, Lyra. Humanity's first real step into the stars. Lyra smiled back, her confidence radiant. And we'll keep taking steps, one challenge at a time. Together, the ships lifted, engines glowing, and the frozen world of Orvella 7 shrank below them. Jed and Lyra guided the fleet carefully, demonstrating human ingenuity in navigation, resource management, and teamwork. The colonies watched in awe, knowing that their species had taken a leap that would change the course of history. As the fleet entered the vast expanse of space, the alien AI spoke one final time. Humanity's potential is limitless. Continue to explore, learn, and adapt. Your species has been chosen to inherit the legacy of the stars. Jed and Lyra exchanged a glance, understanding fully the weight of those words. The galaxy was no longer just a distant mystery, it was a canvas for human ingenuity and courage. In the days and months that followed, humanity began to expand beyond its home systems. New colonies were established, new alliances formed, and knowledge of alien civilizations spread carefully through trusted channels. Jed and Lyra returned to Orvella 7 often, guiding settlers, training new explorers, and teaching the lessons of adaptability, courage, and collaboration. Every night, under the twin moons of Orvella 7, Jed and Lyra would stand together, watching the stars stretch endlessly above them. Lyra's hand often rested on Jed's arm, and Jed would smile down at her, knowing that their partnership had not only saved a colony, but had set humanity on a path toward greatness. Jed whispered softly one night, as the snow drifted gently around their outpost. You know, Lyra, the universe is a lot bigger than we thought. Lyra looked at him, eyes bright. Yes. But humans, we're ready for it. Together, and so, humanity took its first real steps among the stars. Guided by courage, ingenuity, and the unlikely duo of a lonely cowboy and his shy, towering bride. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges and wonders. But humanity, small, adaptable, and endlessly creative, was ready. The AI recorded their progress as part of its ancient archives, noting humanity's potential as a species capable of greatness. Jed and Lyra looked forward, not knowing every challenge that awaited, but confident in one truth. Wherever humanity went, it would thrive. The stars were no longer distant dreams, they were home.